To be with you tonight, and I'm sorry that I don't really know what got said before, but I imagine it was a lot of mean things about conventional cleaners, which is appropriate, and lots of good ideas for taking our own cleaning into our own hands. What I'd like to do in the next few minutes is set the household cleaning challenge in a more global context. And I don't just mean that what our neighbors throw down the drain will ultimately drink, or that we breathe in air, we breathe and drink the toxins from a widespread global dissemination of toxic cleaning materials. I mean, actually, that what I want to focus on is that the corporations that produce the toxic components and so many of the final products are really poisonous monsters that have gotten their teeth into almost every area of our lives and left a trail of destruction and death that's still going on. So what I want to demonstrate is the connection between big detergent or big clean, whatever we are calling it or thinking about it tonight, and big chemical and big petroleum and big ag and big military and more. So a good place to start, I think, is with Dow. And they are the biggest chemical company in the U.S. They produce so many of our cleaners, or materials for so many of our cleaners. I mean, Dow Cleaner or Dow Bathroom is now owned by Johnson, and it's Bubbles, or whatever it's called. Dow produces a good deal of the chemicals that go into these things. Dow is also, as those of you who remember the Vietnam War, one of the producer of napalm, which is a combination of gellants with petroleum used as a incendiary. And we remember that photo that helped to end the war of children running on fire away from the napalm attack. Dow is also a provider of Agent Orange, the herbicide that we use to denude the Vietnamese jungles in order to make the enemy easier to find. And as most of you know, our military are working with Dow and Monsanto, destroying not only the lush jungles and to a great extent the food supply in Vietnam, and sickened the environment and population, but also sickened our own military personnel. Dow is a manufacturer, not surprisingly, of some of the most toxic pesticides, and some have been banned here. They have others, but Duraspan and Lorsban are used throughout the globe. And they are pretty much have their fingers in every pot. Monsanto is pretty much the same. Monsanto began as a drug company, and this is what we see this a lot. So that they have a great range in a great repertoire, and the poisons are fluid, floating from industry to industry in their portfolio. Monsanto gave us aspartame, the derivative of coal. Monsanto and Dow are both involved in coal too, and nuclear power. Dow gave us plutonium. Monsanto was very active in the Manhattan Project. And Monsanto and Dow both manufactured Agent Orange, which it causes cancer and birth defects because a byproduct of its production is dioxins, which was known at the time. So they produced, Monsanto was very much on all our radar, bovine growth hormone, PCBs and DDT, Roundup, and of course they're the biggest producer and marketer of genetically modified seeds. They don't produce that much in household materials, but they produce some of the chemicals, household cleaning, and of course household and domestic Roundup and other horrendous things. And there's a lot of overlapping relationships. Monsanto entered into a joint venture with IG Farben in 1967. Let me tell you a little about IG Farben. If you don't know, it was the German industrial corporation that supported the Hitler's campaign and created the chemicals used in the Nazi gas chambers. After the war, Farben was dispersed, and Bayer and BASF absorbed them. But that didn't last for long because their corporate directors ended up on the board of Bayer and BASF, which is the largest chemical company in the world. Okay, I want to tell you a story that demonstrates some of this incredible overlap of manufacturing and distribution and power. It took place in Iraq, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia about a little over 20 years ago in the 90s, but similar stories are unfolding here at home. So you have this Gulf War, and learning more and more that these wars have something to do with oil. And Winston Churchill's grandson, a Tory MP, at the time of the Gulf War, shortly after the Gulf War, was the Minister of Defense. So, in this capacity, he was responsible for overseeing the investigations into the cause of what was then being called Gulf War syndrome, this very widespread among our troops. It's hit about a third of them, some over 300,000, it's estimated. And similar things are happening now with troops returning from Afghanistan, and before that Iraq. Imagine what's going on with people over there. But anyway, it includes headaches, cognitive decline, mood swings, GI afflictions, fatigue, rashes, all the way to MS, Parkinson's, and cancer. And SOMS consistently, as our various administrations have done, dismiss the research. It's only now that they're admitting it. Research that tied what we now call Gulf War illness with the chemical used in the war. And again, we learn from documents, Sir Solomons sent scientists back to the drawing board for answers that would jive with his and the Department of Defense here's claim that veterans were experiencing something that could only be accounted for by stress, that was the only commonality of their experience. What he didn't report was that he was on the board of directors of Bayer, UK, and Bayer was one of the producers of a pill that many troops identified as the trigger in their symptoms. The key ingredient in the pill was acetylcholine esterase inhibitors, they call ACEs or ACEs, which in large amounts can cause the central nervous system to go haywire. And so the amounts it was given, it is a severe neurotoxin. It was given as a prophylactic pre-treatment for nerve gas exposure. The pill has a big name, but they call it PP mostly. And it was given to Gulf War soldiers widely, and it was experimental. And not approved, and but they were forced to take it at the risk of court martial. So acetylcholinesterase inhibitors are also a key ingredient in pesticides, and the pesticides had also been one of the critical exposures for the soldiers, both in the UK and from the States, because I don't know why they decided to douse everything in pesticide, maybe to buy more pesticide. But it was at alarming levels. And interestingly, it's a complicated story. During and after the Gulf War, Soames had served as the Parliamentary Secretary of Agriculture. And at that time, there were a lot of reports coming up linking insecticides and pesticides to all kinds of diseases. But he kept saying, don't give me acetylcholinesterase inhibitors. Eventually, he had to publicly apologize before Parliament for not revealing his Bayer dictatorship. But he's still alive and doing well in Parliament and business. While, as I said, between the UK and US, there's probably 400,000 who are ill and hundreds dead from Gulf War illness, which has been linked beyond dispute to exposure to neurotoxins from the pills, from the pesticides, from Iraqi storage facilities of sarin, which we exploded and then covered up. Okay, I have another tale of another Gulf to tell you, which is connected. So we have the tale of two Gulfs here. Today in the Gulf of Mexico, what we're seeing is the same illness and another vast cover-up of corporate and governmental recklessness and human and animal and economic suffering. And this started shortly after the BP Deepwater Horizon spill. The cleanup is dirty. And the culprit is not an insecticide or a pharmaceutical, but from the same gang, same thugs, acetylcholinesterase inhibitors, which are devastating the cleanup workers and local population, local fish, local animals. What's being reported, some of you may have seen Vice News on HBO this week, but what's being reported are fatigue, rash, joint pain, memory loss, emotional ability, wobbliness, and more, including cancer. And the shrimp that they pull out of the water, you can see the tumors bulging out. Now, the main cause of this is not the spill, but the cleanup. And the culprit is something called Corexit. It was used in the Exxon Valdez cleanup, and the results were disastrous, but the corporation making it prevailed, and the immense amount was sold to clean up the Gulf. It's part of a product line, Corexit is, of dispersants used to dissolve oil spills, and it's produced by the Nalco Holding Company. And it emulsifies the oil into little droplets so that the oil doesn't show. It goes lower into water, the water stays blue, and the sands, relatively speaking, can stay white. Meanwhile, underneath the blue surface, you see there's been this devastation. And why is this allowed? Nalco's corporate leadership includes executives from Nalco's financial country, from Exxon and BP. So the people responsible for devastation initially are now hired through their corporate subsidiaries and associations not subsidiaries, but associated companies to do the cleanup. Now gives widely to Democrats and Republicans, and after the Gulf spill, lobbied aggressively in the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the EPA, and the Department of the Interior. Okay, let's go back, try to get back to cleaning. The solvent used in Corexit is made up of butoxyl ethanol. And that's a chemical that's found in a wide variety of household cleaning products. It's what gives the smell to the sweet odor to Windex and a lot of other household cleaning agents. We really find it everywhere. In glass and oven cleaners, general degreasers, spot removers, air fresheners, carpet cleaners. Basically, you name it, and it probably has Corexit in it. Every formula of 409 has it, all the SOS cleaning products, most Pine Sol, and I want to tell you about another one that's you may have talked about it earlier, and that is Simple Green. That contains a tremendous amount of Corexit, maybe as well be Corexit. This butoxyl ethanol, and yet in that massive greenwashing campaign, you see people, as a result, people buying the Simple Green, which is simply toxic. So we really do have our work cut out for us as we try to cleaning of our lives, because household cleaning is just part of a larger array of problems that we have to address. But I think it's great that you're starting there. I really do salute Seeds for its work. And I look forward to working with you. So, good night.
Nora, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions?
Did you spell the chemicals?
Which one?
Corexit and ethanol.
Nora, did you hear that? Can you spell some of those chemicals that you mentioned?
Can I spell? Sure. Okay. It's butoxyl. Why don't I post it on the Seed site? But it's butoxyl ethanol. That is the what's in Corexit, and that Windex and all those sweet smelling cleaners, and acetylcholinesterase inhibitors are ACHIs. This is neurotoxin, basically, at the levels it was administered, and I don't know which else, but maybe I can put some stuff up on the Seed site.
That'd be great, Nora. If you email that to me, I'll post it for you.
And when it's listed on a cleaner, is it listed as Corexit or butylethyl butoxyl ethanol?
Her question is, Nora, when it's listed on an ingredient, is it spelled out or is it abbreviated?
Or a brand name of some sort?
Or some other name?
The acetylcholinesterase inhibitors would not be listed. I mean, it's a class of chemical. And the physician among you tonight would probably know more about that in terms of a pill and the company information, but that's available. But yes, I've seen MDSs, and I'm just trying to think if I have actually seen the labels saying butoxyl ethanol. I'm not sure.
Well, if you send me that information, I'll post it, Nora. We're gonna move on because we have one more presenter. But I'm going to keep you here, Nora, so you can listen in if you'd like, okay?
Very good.
Thank you so very much.